My name's Steve Lang. I'm the Assistant Director of Career Services at Central Washington University's West Side, Des Moines Center, and Pierce County. Today, my guest is Jake Fordham. He is a 2017 Bachelor of Business Administration major with an emphasis in human resources management. Welcome, Jake.
Hey, Steve. Thank you very much for having me.
So it looks like the information you sent me about is it that you actually did not go to college right out of high school. Maybe you started, it looks like you started at Alaska Airlines and worked there for a number of years and then decided to go back to school. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, you bet. So right out of high school, I did go to college and went to North Idaho College over in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. But I didn't really know what I was going to do with my life. I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I just kind of worked at taking classes I enjoyed. I actually got an outdoor recreation certificate and was doing some rafting and some guiding and just really enjoying it. But I ended up getting married, and a lot of those jobs, unfortunately, don't come with things like health benefits. So I had to go and find myself a job that was a little bit a little more providing of those benefits. And so that was actually Circuit City. Circuit City went out of business, and I was looking for something to do and got a job at the airport as a customer service agent for Alaska Airlines. And next thing I knew, it was I just kind of started on a bit of a leadership journey through that company. And about halfway through my time there, I realized that I needed to go and finish my degree if I wanted to continue to move up with the company. And so I made it a focus and returned to school in 2017. Well, I graduated in 2017, so I returned in 2015 and went through the Des Moines campus at Central as a returning student and had a wonderful experience there.
Okay. And then after you got your degree, it sounds like you kind of moved up fairly quickly in some of the training positions. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I actually was my first management job at Alaska Airlines was in training. It was a training content developer. It was similar to an instructional designer. So a lot of what we would do is we would create the computer-based trainings that people take with their companies, or we'd create in-class trainings that you'd go through for when you're hired on it at the company. And after doing that for a couple of years, I started to express a desire to move into a leadership position where I was actually leading employees. And a good friend of mine said, "Hey, you have training down, but to move into some of these management positions, you're going to need to start working on your leadership experience." And so she invited me to come work for her in our weight and balance department as a supervisor and lead a team of about 50 union employees. And just start to really build on that skill. And while I was there, we went through some pretty major changes on our software. We went through some huge culture development projects and just trying to increase engagement with the team. And a year there, we accomplished a lot. We had a really good time. We got through a lot of different projects that were seen as pretty major milestones for the company. And I was asked to move into another promotion position, which was a manager of customer operations. And when I was in that role, I went back to school. That was the point where I realized that was a stopping point for me, and I needed to finish up and get my degree. And so while I was in that role, I was able to finish my degree at Central. And again, opportunity came with my former boss saying, "Hey, I have a project to go and move the Virgin America Operations Center from Burlingame, California to Seattle, Washington, as we were going through this integration between the two companies." And I jumped on that. Again, it was a big project, a big culture focus, a lot of moving parts that we had to focus on. And from that point on, it was I got that project went really well, and I got another opportunity to become the director of technical training and resource planning in the maintenance division.
I see. And then it sounds like, these were major projects that you were working on and probably required a lot of extra hours and difficult situations. So I know that you had mentioned that you took a leave of absence or requested a leave of absence after a lot of this work from Alaska Air, and it was granted. So can you tell me a little bit about that transition?
Yeah, you bet. So one of the things that when I took the director of technical training and resource planning job, one of the things that I didn't really account for was how much of a toll all the effort on those earlier projects had kind of taken on me. I'd put on quite a bit of weight. I was tired. I was stressed out. There was a lot of stuff that went into it, a lot of time, a lot of effort that went into those projects, and we worked really hard. And I didn't really take any time to kind of to put any boundaries up or to really establish what I needed to do to take care of myself and be successful at in work. And so when I moved into the director of technical training role, it was a little bit of more of the same thing. It was we had basically 3 huge projects that were all on fire that really required a lot of hours. So I was putting in about anywhere from 80 to 100 hours of work in a week, and was burning myself out. And we got through those projects, and I just knew that I needed to take a break. I needed some time to step back and just really get myself back to a good spot. Well, after you're doing all these, you start going through all these projects, and you're going through all these efforts, and you all of a sudden you take a look around and you realize that you've just ran yourself into the ground, and I needed to kind of reset a bit. So after talking with my manager and with our HR business partner, we came to the conclusion there was no, I should say, there's no formal sabbatical program at Alaska Airlines. And so when I was talking to them, it was just, I basically came to them with hat in hand and just said, hey, I just need a break. What can we do? And they said, well, hey, let's figure this out. You're an excellent employee. We want to keep you on. And so we negotiated an 89-day leave of absence. And at the same time, I had an opportunity to go co-teach classes at Central Washington University with Dr. Wendy Cook. And it was something that I really wanted to do as a potential future career at some point. And so at the same time, I was talking to Wendy, and we came up with a plan to teach some spring quarter classes. And I went on to the 89-day leave of absence. Unfortunately, the leave of absence started the last week of January and was set to end the last week of April, first week of May. And as we all know, COVID hit and just kind of destroyed everything. So the role that I was supposed to come back to wasn't my original role in maintenance. They needed somebody to fill that position because of all the things that were going on there. So they had another person temporarily move into that role. And so I was going to move into a new role that was actually going to be combining the training departments at Alaska Airlines. And that project obviously was put on hold indefinitely, and all the hiring was put on hold as well. And so since then, I've just been teaching classes and just really having a good time, getting healthier, spending time outdoors, spending time with my family, and just kind of resetting.
Yeah. So it sounds like, that sounds like they were really, the company was really good to you in regard to allowing you to take some time off. They were really appreciative of the work you did and the toll it was taking on you, physically, personally, and your family. And then COVID hit. So you've sort of, in a roundabout way, been a victim of COVID, as a lot of people have been. So can you tell me, let's just reflect a little bit back upon your business. You said you're working a lot of hours. Can you tell me, when you were working on those projects, what did you enjoy most about those projects? And then what did you enjoy least?
Yeah. So for me, I'm really big on development and people development, leadership development, training development, all those development aspects have been something that I really enjoy. That's something that I really like. So the creation of teams and trying to find ways to get the most out of the employees is something that I really enjoy. The other aspect to it was the development of processes and procedures to make things easier. I'm a big believer on why do things twice? If you can just do it once and then kind of duplicate that over and over again, then that makes life a lot easier, in my opinion. And so those were the pieces that I really liked. I've always been able to I've always been able to look at kind of a project or a system or something along those lines and be able to break it down into simpler parts and then get that documented. So that way the next person who comes in can just pick that up and follow that process rather than having to go through a lot of the anxiety of trying to learn how to do the job. And so those were the parts I really enjoyed. Maintenance is an amazing division where everything is documented, but sometimes things haven't been looked at in a really long time. So it's an opportunity to go in and see ways to simplify procedures that have been in place for 20, 30 years. So that was the part that I really enjoyed. The part that I had a hard time with is that I prefer like more of a servant leadership style. I like to involve people in ideas and direction of where we're going. But the maintenance department, the culture was very different. It was a very different culture than I was used to. They're very much more hierarchical. The majority of the employees come from military backgrounds, where coming from that kind of that standard top-down leadership approach a little bit there, and that was something I had a really hard time adjusting to. And like sometimes there's when you move into a new role, if the culture isn't quite if you haven't done your research to see if that culture is a real good fit for you, it can create a lot of stress and create a lot of anxiety on whether or not you're doing a good job. And that was just something that I observed, and that was something that was pretty difficult. And then the other piece that was really hard was just the amount of change that was happening. Because of the integration between two different companies, there was just a lot going on. And so keeping track of everything that was happening could be a bit overwhelming. And so, and being responsible for a pretty major portion of that change, it creates that added stress that if you're not able to kind of give yourself a way to step away, then at the same time, you can kind of drive yourself crazy.
Yeah.
It's the old adage of how do you eat an elephant, right? Just one bite at a time. And if you can't keep that in mind, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. So what do you think were the most important skills you used daily in your work?
Yeah. So I'm a big proponent of feedback, of asking and receiving feedback and giving feedback as well. And so that was a major piece, especially when you're working in the training development world. You're creating computer-based trainings, you're creating classroom trainings. You have to be constantly looking for feedback to make sure that it's an effective training, because otherwise if you just put out something that's not necessarily going to accomplish anything. So that's not incredibly helpful. So feedback, asking and giving feedback is probably the biggest skill. The other one is project management. Project management is really important. Being able to create key milestones on a project and have a timeline that you can share and keep transparent for everybody to see on where things are at, as well as hold yourself accountable too on what you're accomplishing and what you need to accomplish in a timely manner. Those are probably the biggest two that come to mind.
Okay. So what kind of advice would you have for someone who's interested in kind of pursuing a similar career path that you started out on?
The best piece of advice that I would give is that don't be afraid to take on opportunities. There's a lot of times what can be creating conflict at work, or can be creating kind of a stressful environment, is an opportunity to step in and help out. And by becoming that person that people can go to, you then are somebody that they think of as opportunities present themselves. And so that's kind of the biggest thing. Don't be afraid to be involved in change. Change is a constant. It's always going to happen in every single company, no matter what. And if you're a change champion, if you're willing to get in there and help influence the change, then that's going to, again, do the same thing of help have people keep you in mind when opportunities present themselves. So those are kind of the biggest things I would say. That I never took a role at Alaska that I wasn't approached on because of my past history, and that was that was something that was always kind of interesting to me.
Mhm. Well, I want to be really respectful of your time. I really appreciate you giving us some time. Do you have any just last minute comments that you want to share with the students that might be viewing this interview?
The one thing I'd say is that, especially since we're in this COVID environment, we're in this recession environment, it's tough right now, but it will get better. When I was laid off from Circuit City, when they went out of business back in 2007, it was a terrible time to be looking for work. And I found I kind of jumped on the first job that I was able to get. This time I've been able to be a lot more methodical in my search, but the biggest thing is that these are all just kind of bumps in the road, and it does get better, and the economy will recover. We'll come up with a vaccine for COVID, and that's just always it's always the way that I've been able to look at it since that Circuit City environment. That was the worst time to ever get laid off, and able to find a job and still going, and here I am in kind of a similar situation, still looking for work type of a thing, but at the same time, that too will pass type of a mentality.
Yeah, I mean, you went through this experience one time and you survived, and so it gives you a more opportunity, kind of a more positive outlook on the future, because it can get better. Yeah.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, Jake, I really thank you for your time. I'm sure the students that view this video will really appreciate your insights and your information. And I'm going to sign off on this interview and just thank our viewers. And so anybody watching this video, we hope you'll tune in to additional Discover Your Path interviews by checking out the Central Washington University Career Services YouTube channel. Have a good day.
Steve.